The GOP sees a massive opportunity to crush Biden and the Democrats with the new Omicron variant, and the Democrats know it. In this video, we're going to look at the panic that's beginning to set in among leftists as they see the political opportunity here for the Republicans. We're going to see how Biden's poll numbers continue to implode as more lockdowns loom. And stick with me to the very end of this video where I'll show you how the Republicans have already begun to crush Biden's vax mandates. You are not going to want to miss this. Greetings, everyone. Dr. Steve here with you. Great to be with you. As always, I am your daily fake news antidote. As each and every day, I provide patriotic analysis to help you to think better so you can feel better in these crazy and turbulent times. So if you've already done so, you know what to do. Make sure to smack that bell and subscribe button. Before we begin, on this channel, we do talk a lot about building a parallel economy, what scholars have referred to as a parallel polis, where we intentionally support companies that support our values rather than support a bunch of woke corporations. And to that end, I want to give a huge shout out to PatriotSwitch.com. PatriotSwitch.com gives patriots the ability to walk away from woke corporations forever. PatriotSwitch.com is created to give you the opportunity to shop at family-owned, patriot-owned, made-in-America stores. They're absolutely wonderful. Think about it. Wouldn't you love to no longer rely on the big woke corporations? Well, now you can make that independence a reality and transfer your dollars away from companies that despise our values and instead give them to family-owned companies for the future of our nation. Thanks to PatriotSwitch.com. Again, that's PatriotSwitch.com. All right, gang, let's dive right in here. The leftists are once again panicked. Yes, the leftists, particularly over at Salon, are recognizing that the COVID mutation known as Omicron, I don't know what the infatuation is with Greek letters and diseases, but regardless, they're terrified over the prospects of the GOP exploiting Omicron for their own political gain. That's right. I came across this rather bizarre article written by Heather Digby Parton, where she expresses how deeply concerned she is that the Republicans are already beginning to mobilize to blame Biden for the new COVID variant. She cited a recent article published in the Wall Street Journal that lambasted Biden for overseeing more COVID deaths during his tenure than Trump did. 2021 COVID deaths have already surpassed those of 2020, and as a result, a slew of articles are coming out laying the blame at the feet of our current incompetent and incontinent so-called commander-in-chief. Well, this politicizing the pandemic has leftists over at Salon.com very concerned, precisely because they recognize, well, it's working. The Salon piece is echoing the panic first expressed in the New York Times several days back that recognized the effectiveness of Republicans hitting Biden right where it hurts, and that's, of course, with his competence. Quoting one Republican strategist, the Times piece noted, quote, Biden sold himself to voters as the guy who can make a difference in the fight against COVID, yet more Americans are dying. The bottom line is that Republicans have always been more focused on the economic impact of the pandemic, and now we're seeing independents and swing voters expressing concern about those impacts as well. Supply chain, inflation, jobs, stores not being open or having what they need. There is a growing sense that Biden's presidency is falling way short on its promises. And whatever excuses the left wants to make up here, there's no denying that. That's something everyone sees. Charles Cook over at National Review put it well. He wrote, quote, Biden promised that he would, quote, shut down the virus, not the country. He vowed to follow the data and listen to the scientists. He described his predecessor's decision to limit travel from certain African and Middle Eastern countries as, quote, hysteria, xenophobia, and fear-mongering. As president, he's presided over more COVID-related deaths than his predecessor. He's allowed himself to be captured by monomaniacal, neurotic, agoraphobic pantywaists. And in a particularly delicious turn of fate, he has been left relying on precisely the blunt instruments that he once insisted would do nothing to stop the spread of the pandemic. Fools rush in, says the song, and Joe Biden is nothing if not a fool. Well said. Especially the phrase monomaniacal, neurotic, agoraphobic pantywaist. That's pretty impressive. So clearly, Clearly, with Biden actually considering more draconian lockdowns with the advent of the Omicron variant, clearly the Republicans have an amazing political opportunity here. And it's also clearly freaking out the Democrats. It's interesting because both the New York Times and the Salon pieces, they've got to be two of the most bizarre pieces I've read of late from left-wing websites. And that's saying something, because what both authors do throughout their respective pieces is they both excoriate Republicans for blaming Biden and politicizing the virus, all the while they themselves both push the notion that COVID deaths are disproportionately more evident in red states than in blue states. I mean, I kid you not, these two left-wing hacks actually blame the Republicans for politicizing COVID. At the very same time, they blame most COVID deaths on Trump supporters in the deepest red Trump counties. I mean, it's the most bizarre hypocrisy I think I've ever seen. They're preachers who denounce homilies. It's the self-negating nature of their arguments is so glaring, I'm astonished that they themselves can't see it. Now, despite their own attempts at politicizing the pandemic, it's become rather clear that the Republicans are going to crush Biden with Omicron. Okay, look at the latest polling that just came out from Trafalgar. Look at this. According to Trafalgar, which, remember, is historically one of the more accurate polling firms out there, Biden has an embarrassing 36% approval. 60%, 59.1% of likely voters disapprove of him. Now, if we gauge previous Trafalgar polls, Biden's sinking. Just a couple of weeks back, Trafalgar had Biden at 39% approval. So, gang, he is sinking. He's just a few points away from the 20s in terms of approval. We're talking 60% of the voting public right now want nothing to do with this guy. That can reach 70, 80%. Obviously, the Republicans are getting emboldened in all this, and they're getting help big time from the courts. The Fifth Circuit, they recently blocked Biden's vaccine mandates for private businesses. It is a permanent ban, unless, of course, the Supreme Court were to overturn it, but no one that I know of at least thinks they will. But in terms of the Fifth Circuit Court, a three-judge panel unanimously conclude that the mandates issued through OSHA, the Occupational Safety and Health Administration, needs to be banned at this point. They used the term, they grossly exceeded their constitutional authority. And so this is why Republicans are using the upcoming government shutdown in the next few weeks as leverage to completely defund federal vax mandates. As far as many Republicans are concerned, not a dime of taxpayer money should be used to fund the enforcement of a single vax mandate. It's already been struck down, right? So especially in light of the recent decision from the Fifth Circuit and even the Biden administration, they've admitted that they're not enforcing the mandate. So things are going to get even worse for Biden if he decides he wants to institute another series of mass lockdowns. So obviously we're going to keep an eye on how things develop here, but it looks like when all is said and done, the major victim in this pandemic, as it turns out, will be the political career of none other than Joe Biden himself. Now, before you go, you will definitely want to check out my latest video on CNN admitting that President Trump is indeed running a shadow presidency. It's an admission from CNN. It's absolutely fascinating. So you want to click on the link, and I'll see you over there. God bless.